Headline news most affecting Chilliwack this week. A crisis in the valley. Historic rainfall through a 48-hour period, resulting in flooding in many low-lying areas and the evacuation of Yarrow and parts of Cultist Lake. Chilliwack Island, land access to the city blocked from all major thoroughfares. Premier John Horgan discouraging hoarding amidst lineups to the grocery stores and gas stations because of the lack of supply, and the flooding disrupting local sports. Our special guests this week include Mayor Ken Popove to provide an update on the crisis, Chilliwack City Councillor Sue Knott, who's also the Executive Director with the Chilliwack Hospice Society, and a special segment with Josh Bohr of the Salvation Army of Chilliwack. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. Our top story. Some 145 days ago, we were sweltering through record heat and a heat dome that's normally associated with Death Valley, California. A short time later, record rains from a 1 in 100 year atmospheric river, some comparing this to the 1948 floods. Yarrow, Sumas Prairie, Merritt, Princeton evacuated. The west side of Cultist Lake had to evacuate several homes. The Barrowtown pumps in Abbotsford are keeping up to speed, barely. On Tuesday night, crews and over 200 Chilliwack volunteers answered the call around midnight to assist in sandbagging around the 4 pumps at Barrowtown, because if just one of them failed, that would lead to backflow from the Fraser River and recreating the old Sumas Lake. That was drained 100 years ago. Adding to the stress from the Fraser and the Chilliwack and the Vedder rivers and the mountain runoff, across the line, the Nooksack River is backing up from Washington State into BC. The Sumas border crossing remains flooded out. Yarrow is on the edge of the Sumas Prairie. Those residents were told to leave. Residents have since been allowed to return, but there is a caveat. That situation could still change in a moment's notice. Damage to the highway for Highway 1 and the Coquihalla still not completely determined. That could take weeks to resolve. Travelers trapped by mudslides have been rescued from Highway 7. Schools. Schools have been canceled for not only every day, but outside of the Chilliwack and Abbotsford School District, UFV. Harrison Lake actually rose 5 inches. The FVRD closing its parks for safety reasons, including Island 22. A reminder that all Cultist Lake docks and wharves remain closed until further notice due to extreme flooding and inaccessibility. Residents and guests are reminded to remain away from these areas as water levels are still high and unsafe. Fraser Valley Regional District Chair and Chilliwack City Councillor Jason Lum took to social media to plead for sanity and not hoard, as citizens realized closed access routes to the city may lead to shortages of some items, including gas. This storm and the subsequent flooding event is unprecedented in recent times, and we are actually proud of our community, how we have come together in helping neighbors and visitors and unintended visitors and even farm animals. With all the water, ironically, clean water and food are in desperate need for thousands of farm animals. Chilliwack Mayor Ken Popove held a media conference on Wednesday, noting that he did speak with the Prime Minister and that military assistance was coming, but he could not have a timeline given to him by the PMO. So now let's go to an interview that I had with Mayor Ken Popove, recorded a short time ago. chillTV's News of the Week and an update on what is happening with the floods and this massive event we have had over the past week and how we are recovering. Chilliwack Mayor Ken Popove joins us. The obvious first question is, where are we right now? We've seen plenty of pictures. We were just talking off the air that you had a chance to go up in a helicopter. What did you see and your impression?
Well, let's start with some good news. Most of Yarrow is dry. There's bits there south on Boundary Road where there's about a dozen properties that are still affected, but the rest of Yarrow is in good shape. We lifted the evacuation order about 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, allowing people in, and I'm sure there were a lot of happy people to get back into their homes and some form of normality. The extent of the damage is just, I've never seen it before. You know, I was up in a helicopter, like I said, and there's highway, and then there's no highway. It's just incredible destruction. and it's not a foot of water; it's 3 and 4 and 5 feet of water in places. It's going to take a while for that to drain out of there. Obviously, the infrastructure, I'm sure, is damaged like underneath the water. So we're a long ways out to even have any sort of a connection with our neighbors to the west. There's a lot of work has to be done.
Just to paraphrase my dad, who came out from the prairies for the 48 flood, and he said he's never seen anything like this before. So take that for what it's worth. You mentioned infrastructure. As we are speaking, the federal government is in the House talking about what they can do for our area. They have yet to, as we go to air, we have yet to hear the term military, but we have heard infrastructure. Mayor Henry Braun in Abbotsford has been quoted as saying, "Don't be surprised if this bill is in the hundreds of millions." Locally, I mean, obviously Highway 1 is a major concern. Do we have any idea of the Vetter Canal Bridge or anything else, or is that just way down the timeline now? We just have to wait for everything to recede.
Yeah, pretty much, to do a good assessment on everything. Talking to operations, our big infrastructure, like the Vetter Bridge and that sort of thing, it came out unscathed. Not so much for some of the roadways, because we had a lot of creek blowouts. I was up in Manjupa Hill today, and there's a huge one up there. The road is like a third gone, basically, because of the washout of the water and what it did to the like the underbelly of the road. Our crews are working 24 hours a day, 12-hour shifts. We've triaged the damaged areas from most needed to be fixed to least needed to be fixed. There's culverts have to go in, roads have to be cleaned, ditches have to be cleaned. It's a hell of a mess, Don. It's a mess.
Yeah. We, as you can appreciate, we've been getting our fair share of questions, and there's about 3 that I do want to fire at you. Pumps. Sure. Can we bring in more pumps, or is it simply Abbotsford right now is the priority, or where are we? Or have we just simply run out of equipment and we're waiting for the feds and we're waiting for the province?
You would need, like 100 pumps to evacuate the water in any timely fashion. Mother Nature is going to do it itself. As soon as the Fraser River drops a bit more, they can open up the spillways at Barrowtown Park, or pump station, I should say, and that'll take a lot of pressure off the pumping system there, and allow more of the water to flow out and into the Fraser, and that's really all we can do at this point.
Another question that was brought up was sandbagging. I know District of Kent has got their thing set up. Obviously, Abbotsford. What do we have for sandbags? Can we get sandbags?
Yep, they're available at Townsend Park. Absolutely, in the parking lot there. Yeah, just bring your shovel.
And you're going to be doing your own work on that one. A tip of the hat to Heritage Park, and obviously livestock, horses. I was out there day before yesterday. Do we have any more room for any more livestock, for horses, for cattle, or whatever? Or are we swamped, or are we just asking for everybody else to pitch in?
All of the above, Don. That piece of infrastructure is full, and it's also booked out, so there's no more room for any more livestock in there. Been talking to Anna Macedo every couple of days, and she's up to her eyeballs in chickens and rabbits and horses and whatnot. So, folks have to just take care of their own animals. Talk to Buddy Farms, where they can take some of the livestock. It's devastating, the loss. Number I heard is into the thousands of animals that are going to perish from this, in flooded barns and chicken coops or chicken houses, whatever you call them. And it's going to be a monumental cleanup after this is all said and done.
Gonna use the H word, and that's the hoarding. As I understand, last night and early this morning, a lot of trucks were able to get through on Highway 7 and then come the long way in. And then there's the gas shortages. And again, another question is, are we going to have dry gas pumps for a couple of days? Well, what's the situation? What have you heard?
Well, I've been blamed for it already a couple times that it's it's my fault it's not happening. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't take care of the highways. The tanker trucks are coming in. The food trucks are coming in through Highway 7 and through Alberta as well. Like on that side of the province as well. Yeah, I've heard about the hoarding. Just people just use your common sense. That's all I'm going to ask. It's like Horgan says, like, you don't need 48 eggs, you need a dozen eggs, and just take what you need. It's going to come back to normal. I was talking to some, people in the trucking industry because they take care of the hospitals, the prisons, the older folks' homes, and that sort of thing, and that's a priority for them, and they need to get there, and it's coming. It just be patient, and we'll all be looked after. Your gas tank will be full, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, breathe.
I couldn't have a word to say there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just relax. It's gonna get
And the weather forecast, we do have showers, but as I understand, we don't have another, quote, major rain event, but nothing like we've had, but another major rain for at least another 4 or 5 days. Even with showers that we're going to have on and off for the weekend, I would assume that is nail-biting time again for everyone.
Well, talking to staff, and they don't have a huge concern. Apparently, the Barrowtown spillways are going to be opened up around 1:30. Well, it could be open right now. It's actually a tidal issue as well because the tide is coming up the Fraser.
Yeah.
So as soon as that is over, they can open them up and away the water goes. So a lot more water will be leaving than coming in. So no, there's no concern over that.
What I found kind of interesting was over the last few years, there were concerns about eastern hillsides. I really haven't heard too many problems about there, but then there's Promontory and then there's Cultist Lake. Do we have an update on those areas? It looks like Cultus, you can at least get in and out.
Yeah, you can. They're just cleaning up the damage. And if you've seen any of the pictures of all the lumber that's in the lake, there, it's incredible how much is up on the beaches. The docks at Entrance Bay and at Main Beach were swamped. Again, they're not going to be able to assess that damage until the water goes down. They had some trouble up there for sure. I tip my hat and thank the Swally band that allowed people a way out of Cultist Lake and a way in. Just be mindful and respectful of that roadway, please, people. But I do thank the band for allowing this to happen because they would, the people up there would be trapped as well.
What about Promontory and Eastern Hillsides? Are we in the same boat as Cultist Lake, or did we, for lack of a better term, go relatively unscathed?
Relatively, there are some minor slides that happened, but relatively in really good shape. There's a couple of issues up in Ryder Lake. Elkview had some damage done.
Just down the road from us. Yeah.
That's one of the priority pieces that crew is working on. And I think as we speak as well. So this side was okay. It was more the Majuba hillside that really got actually hammered. There was a slide that came down on Yale Road from on top of Little Mountain, took out a couple carriage houses. And we were lucky on that one because I signed the evacuation order at 12:30 for those properties on the bottom. This slide came down a couple hours later, and there were construction workers in one of the carriage houses. So like in that one, timing was certainly everything. But there's little damages here and there, but for the most part, we're okay. We're okay.
Tuesday night, Prime Minister Trudeau put out a tweet. You were named in it, as well as Mayor Braun and a few other mayors. We talked about this yesterday in your press conference. Have you had any further conversation with the Prime Minister himself or with the PMO office?
No, I have not. It was nice of him to reach out and promise me the world. I said, I'm going to be sending you a bill. And he said, yeah, I know it's coming. And I asked him to have a little chat with President Biden about their diking system on the Nootsack River, because this is all their water coming into our area here. So we have to work together. I'm not going to slam anybody down there, but something needs to be done, obviously, because this is where it's all coming in from. I don't know if they've upgraded their diking systems there or what, but there'll be some conversations about that in the near future.
Yeah, and in defense of people who are might have a few things to say about the states, Bellingham got nailed with this water too. So it did not respect didn't respect the boundary. You've got a ton of other calls to make, including the Public Safety Minister, Mike Farnworth. Mayor Ken Popove, again, a big thank you for taking some time out of a very busy few days you've had.
My pleasure. And if you want to speak again in a couple of days, we can certainly do that if you want an update.
We will take you up on that. Thank you, sir. And you're watching Chill TV. Provincial Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth has issued a 14-day state of emergency. It's the third one this year. The first was for COVID, the second for the summer wildfires, and this one for the floods. Premier John Horgan saying the provincial, federal, and local governments are working with emergency personnel to make sure that people and communities get the help they need as they work through yet another natural disaster. The provincial declaration of emergency will ensure the transportation of goods and essential and emergency services. After the flood cleanup comes the cost. For ICBC customers who need to report a claim due to weather-related damage, it can be done online at Report a Claim or by phone at any time. Now, to report a claim, the number is 1-800-910-4222, or simply go to ICBC's social media. All the information will be there. It was promised by the provincial public safety minister, Mike Farnworth, who was rather fed up with anti-COVID protests that were hampering access to schools and healthcare facilities. Proposed legislation will now protect hospitals, COVID-19 test and vaccination centers, and schools from kindergarten to grade 12 by establishing a 20-meter or 66-foot access zone around them. Now, within the access zone, it is an offense to impede access to the facility, disrupt services, or, quote, act in a way that could reasonably be expected to cause service users and providers concern for their physical and mental safety. Now, this does not include churches. Christmas returns to Yarrow with the annual Christmas light show on December the 4th, hoping that floodwaters will have receded by then. You can pick up a map at Yarrow School and then check out the Christmas lights around Yarrow. Food bank donations can be made at the Reformed Church station that will be prepared for the event. Coming off their successful Thanksgiving Day event, kindness chain Chilliwack still plans to have their Christmas holiday season special called Citywide Free Groceries and Home Delivery. That's still on tap for December the 18th and the 19th. The philosophy is no one in Chilliwack remains hungry or worries about groceries for Christmas and the holiday season, and everybody enjoys good food with their loved ones. So if you think you deserve the groceries and you are in need of help, they want to help you. No financial information is required. This will run on self-assessment. More information can be found on their Facebook page. A bit later on in the show, a special feature from Josh Bohr of the Salvation Army in Chilliwack. And now, my interview with Chilliwack Hospice Society Executive Director, Sue Knott. Chill TV's News of the Week in conversation with, normally we would talk about city politics and Chilliwack Councillor Sue Knott, but she is also the Executive Director of the Chilliwack Hospice Society. And something that, this is an annual event now for the Illumination Walk, is it not?
It is. It actually replaced our memorial event that we used to have downtown on Wellington. But because of COVID, we've kind of had to move outdoors, and it's been extremely well received. So I don't know, maybe we will, maybe we won't go back to the old format.
Tell us a little bit more about the Illumination Walk, because we're getting close to the infamous date of December the 6th. A lot of people are going to wonder, is this in any relation to ceremonies and vigils with what happened in Montreal in '89, or is this totally separate? This is about hospice. This is about families.
It's totally separate, and it's next week on Wednesday, the 24th. Starts at 6 o'clock. You do have to pre-register, and what happens is we give you a nice battery-operated candle, and we all take a stroll around the park, and then we stop in an area and we do a little bit of a memorial service for people who may have lost someone during COVID, who may have lost someone 10 years ago. And, in a lot of cases recently, people haven't really had a chance to say goodbye properly. So we do a little memorial service. We have a choir from Leary, which is a bunch of kids that are coming out to sing. So that'll be really lovely. And it's a very laid back event. It's good for anyone. If you don't want to speak or say anything, you don't have to. You can just go for a walk and listen. People will be given an opportunity to remember the person that they lost, but they don't have to. And it's just a really nice event.
This, and especially the past 18 months, and I've had to deal with this myself, where there was a funeral, a memorial. I couldn't get to it because of COVID. And I would think this is a perfect way to share and be part of a community, and you don't have to suffer alone.
Exactly. And, people are fairly isolated still. It's such an uncertain time. Particularly, with all the flooding and everything that's going on, people tend to, their emotions come to the surface when they're going through something particularly difficult in the community. So that sort of brings up old memories that they maybe haven't resolved completely. And it's just a really lovely way for people to share their memories. And there's no cost associated with it. We provide everything. You do need to register though, and you do need to be fully vaccinated.
Okay. And just in case we do have, dare we say it, more rain, dress for the occasion, because it will be in the evening, will it not?
Yes, it starts at 6 p.m. And it should be dark by then. And yes, definitely bring an umbrella if it's raining. You're not going to be outside for, terribly, terribly long. So just dress warm and bring an umbrella, and it'll be a really nice event.
And again, the starting point at 6 p.m. Will be?
Right at the entrance to Sardis Park area. Okay, so where the parking lot is, we'll have a table set up there, and we'll be registering making sure that everyone's names are written down and that sort of thing. And we'll go from there and just go for a nice leisurely stroll around the park, or they can go straight to the area where we're going to be doing sort of the memorial. And it will probably be all in all maybe an hour.
Yeah.
So.
And information can be found on all of the social media for the Chilliwack Hospice Society?
Absolutely. And it's also on our website. Or give the office a call. You do need to register with Lori, so you would need to call the office, and I can give that number right now if you'd like.
Please do.
604-795-4660. Ask to speak to Lori, or even the receptionist can take the information. And we just want to make sure that we're aware of sort of how many people that we have and trying to keep everybody safe and sound.
Next week's Illumination Walk with the Chilliwack Hospice Society Executive Director Sue Knott. Thank you, especially how crazy this past week has been. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes. That's a whole other story, isn't it? Yes. Thank you very much for having me.
And you're watching chillTV. chillTV Sports, you may have seen Matt Paisley on chillTV with the Welcome Mat, your insight to all things real estate in Chilliwack. He's also heavily involved with the GW Graham football program, and he was one happy football coach. With 3,000 fans in the stands at Exhibition Stadium, the Graham Grizzlies did something that has never happened before. They played their crosstown rivals, the Sardis Falcons, in a football game, and it was a playoff game, no less. GW Graham beating Sardis 18-0 at Exhibition Stadium. So next up is supposed to be back in Chilliwack against the number 3 provincial team, the Mount Douglas Rams. Now, due to the flooding, the day and the time are still to be announced. However, BC High School Sports yesterday announced that there will be no provincial championship for football, and it looks the same way for volleyball, but there will be regional championships. And even though the Giants football season is over, provincial championship football games that were scheduled for Townsend Park this Saturday, they've been rescheduled for December 4th and the 5th in Langley at McLeod Athletic Park, all due to the road closures, making it basically impossible for any football team to get around the province to travel into Chilliwack this coming weekend. And now, Josh Bohr with the Salvation Army.
This is a Christmas kettle. But, let's be honest, you already knew that. You've seen these before around town during the holiday season. Maybe you volunteered for a kettle. You've rung the bell and wished people a Merry Christmas. It's a lot of fun. But I feel like after 150 years of kettles, the question always is, okay, if I'm gonna give up my time to host a kettle, to volunteer, or give up my hard-earned money to support the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle campaign, what does my money and time actually go to support? Let's talk about that. This is the pantry. Every day we process 6,000 to 8,000 pounds of grocery items from local grocery stores. Everything from fresh produce, deli sandwiches, dairy products, baked goods, you name it, it comes here. Everything that we can't use goes to local farmers to use as compost. But everything that we can use comes this way. So if that's zero waste food recovery, what we have here is the grocery supplement half of the equation. Clients come in here one at a time with our volunteers and get free groceries, 100 to 120 people every single day getting food to feed them and their families. When you factor in how many people are in their families, how many are in their household, you're looking at anywhere between 250 and 300 people being fed out of the pantry every single day. By far our largest program in terms of impact and quantity. Okay, who actually uses a service like the pantry? I said off the top that my perception growing up was that the Salvation Army helps the homeless. But what if I told you that only about maybe 10% of all pantry clients are homeless? Where's the other 90% coming from? Well, they're what are often referred to as the working poor. These individuals have jobs, have cars, have apartments, have lives, but the working poor are invisible. You don't see them, you don't notice them. They could walk into your church. Your kids are friends with their kids at school. They don't look any different, and yet they live life on a knife's edge. One thing goes wrong, and the whole castle comes crumbling down. Because all it takes is one injury, right? Or an illness, and you gotta stay home from work because your kid is sick. And all of a sudden, your budget for the month is completely wiped out the window. That's where the pantry comes in. We've all been to the grocery stores in the last 6 months or so and seen the prices. So the ability to be able to come to the pantry, get fresh groceries for their family, and not have to worry about that expense. That's the difference between making rent and not making rent. That's the difference between buying your kid new clothes or Christmas presents or whatever it is. These are the type of margins these people live with. And they're all around us, but we don't see it and we forget they're there most of the time. And that's the reason the Kettle campaign exists at all, to support people like that. This holiday season, I want to ask you to consider volunteering to host a kettle. It's actually a lot of fun, especially when you get a couple people together. Sing badly, play an instrument, do whatever you want to spread some Christmas joy in our community. After the last couple years we've had, I think people will appreciate it. So let's do a little bit of good this holiday season. Support the Salvation Army Christmas Kettle campaign. More information at www.chilliwacksa.ca. We'll love to see you out there. Merry Christmas, everyone.
chillTV weather, just plain good old showers and sunny breaks. No atmospheric river or Pineapple Express for the weekend. Highs around 5. If you'd like to participate in reporting news in Chilliwack and you have a story you think we should know about, you can always send us a note, as well as pictures and video, to news@chilltv.ca. We'd love to hear from you. That's the news this week. We will leave you with some video that chillTV crew have taken over the past few days of what we've been through. Take care of yourself. I'm Don Lehn.